Welcome back to the Better Learning Podcast. My name is Matt Rogers. I'm your host today. I'm here with a very exciting guest down in South Carolina, Andrew Jones. I'm going to let him do a little bit of a debrief on who he is, who he's with. But we've got a very, very exciting episode, one that kind of touches on a topic that we don't really get involved with as much. So I'm really excited to bring Andrew into this conversation and kind of dip into his expertise. Andrew, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Matt?
I'm doing fantastic, Well, Andrew, yeah, if you could, just give us a little bit about who you are, who you're with, your role in the district.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you. Again, glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me. This is great. Again, my name's Andrew Jones. I'm the Executive Director for Safety Emergency Management for Rock Hill School District. I guess the brief version of who I am and how I got here. Ironically enough, I went to college to be a youth minister to start. I came back home to a local town nearby here and became a police officer. So I was in law enforcement for 11 years. The last 4 of those years, I was a school resource officer and just loved it. And I kind of joke, that first week I was at SRO, I went home and had a conversation with my wife before we had kids and stuff. And I was like, I need to be working with kids full time. I know this is where I need to be. We're strumming our face. We thought about it, prayed about it, and I went back to school and got a master's degree in education, and then transitioned from an SRO position into a teaching position. I taught high school business and technology classes for 4 years, and then continued my education. Got a specialist degree in education administration, and then was continuing with my doctorate and should be finished, but I'm not because of COVID. But moved into an administrative role in another district as an assistant principal, school administrator, and then 4 years ago now, I came into Rock Hill School District as the Executive Safety Emergency Management. Kind of moved all that, put it together with the law enforcement and the safety side with the education. And it's been an incredible journey to be here. And I absolutely love coming to work. Great team, great district every day. So, yeah, thank you again for having me.
That's awesome, Andrew. Yeah, thanks for diving in. Yeah, 4 years. You've been with the district now. I know a lot of the initiatives we're going to be talking about today probably really started about 4 years ago. So I'm just kind of excited to really dive into that path and where you're at today now with that. But before we get into that, because I'm a sports guru, actually for our audience, we were talking a little bit of sports beforehand. We're coming off the weekend of the Memorial Tournament here in Columbus, Ohio. I'm based here in Columbus. Was fortunate enough to kind of go and see some of that. Really exciting stuff. I know, Andrew, you were talking about the Truist Championship that you were at, which is very awesome. So I wanted to ask a sports question. And if I'm not mistaken, Rock Hill is known as Football City, USA. Is that correct?
That is very correct, sir. We have a very, very good football program in this area. All 3 of our high schools, Rock Hill High School, Northwestern High School, and South Point High School, are all fantastic programs, fantastic coaches. Just the kids are amazing. They work really hard. We've got more students and student athletes that make it to the NFL than any other city in the country, I believe is still the case. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, it's actually kind of weird for me because I actually just learned this, that it's Football City, USA, that wouldn't be in Texas. So that's pretty incredible. It's pretty incredible.
No, it's here, right here in South Carolina.
That's amazing. Yeah. So any names that you could throw out there for us of like maybe names, maybe even I know? I'm kind of curious to.
Jadavian Clowney, everybody knows him. He was probably one of our biggest. I think he's the highest draft pick we've ever had. Savon Gilmore. Oh my gosh. Of course, if you asked me, like I can't think of any. Quarterback was with Pittsburgh for a while. Oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank on his name. I'll think of it about halfway through and I'll be like, oh yeah, it's well.
I don't know if it would have been like Trubisky or
no, it was a young kid. He was filling in the one with the guy trying to hit him with his helmet.
Oh, Mason Rudolph.
Thank you. Yes, Mason Rudolph.
Yeah, well, I'm a Cleveland Browns fan. I said I'm here in Ohio, so I'm a Cleveland Browns fan. So that one was, I was watching that game when that happened, and that was a pretty crazy moment. Not one that I like talking about, but I don't know. Yeah, now we're talking about it. Miles Garrett, who actually performed that, he's not even with the Cleveland Browns anymore.
He just right there too. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Yeah, and I was kind of doing some digging. You guys are the second largest school district in York County, but also one of the largest in South Carolina as well. What's kind of like the, how many schools do you have in the district? How many students, just to kind of put it in perspective?
Yeah, there's been, as you probably know, there's been some decline in some areas. I don't know if it's like that for you guys up in Ohio, but we've had a little bit of a decline. We used to be the largest in York County, but now a neighboring district has got a few more kids than us. I think we're in the 16,000 range, 16 to 17,000 now. We've got a couple schools that were closed for kind of being used. So arguably we have 26 active locations to include some elementary schools, a child development center. We've reopened a virtual school, an alternative school, 3 high schools, Applied Technology Center, which is a fantastic program for our students, and 5 middle schools as well. So there's a lot of things going on, including, as we mentioned earlier, the Carroll School, which I think we'll talk about in a few minutes.
Yeah.
It's a small little one classroom, building. And I wish I knew more of the details and I could try to get them for you, but the history behind it, it's an incredible place. But that's part of our program as well. So yeah, we've got a lot of things going on, a lot of buildings to include Senate Auxiliary, buildings, operations, transportation, district office, the Bellevue Learning Center, all kinds of different things that we're doing here. So yeah, a lot going on.
That's incredible. Yeah, and I want to dive into that because yeah, Andrew, you all have a lot of moving parts right now in the district. I know for one, probably the biggest one on your plate right now is I know you all are pushing forward to an August 2026, if that's still the right timeline right now, but pushing for the new Sunset Park Elementary. And I know you're probably navigating, a lot with, like you said, with the Carroll School, kind of preserving that historic feel for that school too. Yeah, and then I believe, if I'm not mistaken, too, you all have like a 10-year, $336 million facilities assessment plan that you all are kind of navigating as well. So a lot of different things that you all are looking at. And from your role, I do want to kind of dive in a little bit to how you're prioritizing the designs of basically what needs immediate impact and just kind of navigating that. What does that look like for you as far as your role with some of these projects? And just trying to make sure that you are being more innovative, but also trying to take into effect the safety and security side of things as well with your role.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. We've been working really hard, like you said, with these projects. The biggest one, Sunset Park Elementary School, that's been going for a couple of years now. Early on, we had some very robust planning meetings on what it looks like from our perspective. I was a part of the committee that took care of the RFQ and RFPs for the project to see who was going to get the bid. A year, we went and visited locations of current projects, of all of the vendors and all the bids. It was a fantastic process just to be a part of and to learn and to grow in my own self. And like we were talking about earlier, from the safety and security perspective, the safety emergency management perspective, years ago, that was a piece that was forgotten or it was not as much of a consideration. And nowadays, it's something that it is at the forefront. And I'm very appreciative to our district and our leadership that they wanted me to be a part of that process. So getting to be a part of that process and talk to, the companies and the vendors, and to have the conversations with them and understanding that they know what CPTED is, and to have something before people be like, what's CPTED, and be able to have, crowd prevention through environmental design and have that conversation with them, have somebody knowledgeable to work through that. And then as you chose a builder to be a part of the process of how we're designing it and where things are going and our access controls and windows and what those windows look like. And if we're going to do impact resistant filming on those windows and all those things that, is important to me. And it's just one piece of the puzzle for everybody else. But to be a part of that process has been very thankful, and it's been an incredible journey to be a part of that. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's incredible. Well, let's maybe even take Sunset and kind of go back 4 years, because that's probably around the time, like you said, when you were kind of starting this process of kind of looking at this.
Mm-hmm.
I guess tell me first, like how you defined, and I'm not even sure who your architect partner was at the time or what your relationship was there, but when you sit down with that design firm or that design team for the first time on a project like this, to now, like what does that process really look like to making sure the safety requirements that you all have in mind is really taken into consideration there, while also just making sure that the innovative design packages that they have in mind with their strategic plans, things like that's all in line too. So tell me, just talk through that process a little bit for our audience.
I mean, it's just like anything else. I mean, you have to have a partnership, and that's what we've learned. That's what I appreciate so much, is they're willing to listen. They're willing to have those conversations. And from the very beginning, like I said, I felt like I was a piece of it and I wasn't an afterthought. And the safety was a focus because it's a beautiful building. I'm very excited for it to open, but there's a lot of glass and there's a lot of windows. And I understand that from an educator standpoint. the natural light is something that is beneficial to children and learning. And I understand, all those pieces, and we wanted to be able to have that for our students, but also in the mindset and through the lens of safety and in designing it in a way that offers those benefits, but also keeps them safe. And that, to include impact resistant filming or things like that could happen or that could be a part of the build. And our partners were fantastic in listening to that piece and being a part of that process. Like I learned very early on in my career, like I was telling you earlier, the older buildings, I could walk around and will see the problem places before they existed. Understanding there's a choke point here, understanding there's a blind corner here, there's places that needed attention, but it was the older builds. And to be on the front end of that, on this conversation, has been incredible. To say, look, we need to look at it from this perspective. And the design guys, they're the experts, and I trust them. But having a voice to be able to be a part of that has been extremely beneficial.
Well, yeah, that's incredible, Andrew. And I guess the question I have is, when people think of school safety, they often think of the extreme, right? And even myself, like I can even kind of, fall victim to that.
Sure.
And it could be, some of those worst case human threats situations. But your team really manages everything from like even, whatever it is, like a playground accident
Sure.
to, weather conditions that may be, threatening, from your end. Talk to me a little bit about some of the safety packages and things like that you are putting into this new school. Maybe some different factors that, as you've gone through this process, that you've kind of learned along the way that are good features for other districts that might be going through this phase of their project as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so as part of this process, obviously, like I said, we have other buildings, but this one we wanted to be our benchmark. It's our newest building. We wanted to put, all the bells and whistles, within the budget, right, that we could afford.
Yep.
So with this project, there was a lot of things that we really sat down and were intentional about what we wanted to do with it. To include, again, like you're saying, my department is involved in a lot of things outside the traditional sense of what people think of safety and security. We are responsible for all access control. So the doors, door locks, the doorbell systems, when you come up and push a button and you talk to the lady in the front or the gentleman in the front, like that's all our systems that we utilize. We're responsible for all the cameras, camera access servers, not necessarily the IoT servers, but the camera servers. We're responsible for all of that. We're responsible for the intercoms, the emergency communications throughout the building, district radio communications, you said weather services. So when we were building this, we wanted to make sure that this is going to be, the future. We're looking 30, 40, 50 years from now saying this is what we want it to be. So when we did that, we designed it with that in mind. When we were doing access control, some of the things that we didn't do before is we hardwired all of our doors through the access control instead of using batteries and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Additionally, we're going to put all of those IDF closets and our servers back to the generator. So if we lose power, we'll still have access to those doors. We'll still have access to those cameras and things like that, which again, we learned through the years that previously that wasn't done. So we're making sure we have that. All of our cameras, are state of the art, AI cameras. I could put in search parameters, white male, brown hair, green shirt, and they will follow you everywhere you've been in the building. Including to coming up to the building, we could put parameters in and it could face identification and give us a notification that you're coming to the building and you're not supposed to. So we're very excited about some of the new technology that we're bringing on board with this new school as well. And just like I said earlier, from the design perspective too, it's a whole different beast, but it's beautiful and it's amazing. And to be a student walking into this building, I couldn't imagine the learning environment that we're creating for them. And to kind of prep or go back to what I was saying earlier, the design has so much to do with how these kids learn, for the positive and the negative. We're going to have that beautiful space for them to learn, but also designing it to where kids, have a place to learn and understanding that sometimes the behaviors are because of the environment and we want to make sure that they feel safe. I understand my job. Students are not going to learn if they don't feel safe. Teachers are not going to teach if they don't feel safe. So anything I can do, my job is a support system and my department's job is a support system to ensure that children have a safe place to go every day and that teachers have a safe place to be there to love their kids. And that's ultimately every day. If I do that, then I'm successful.
When we work with schools at K-12, it's not just about furniture or design, it's about impact. Our radically student-centered approach puts students at the center of every decision. From that first conversation to the final walkthrough, we're focused on creating spaces that actually work for the kids, the teachers, and the community. So if you're looking to do more than just check a box on your next project, let's talk. Visit K12.com. That's KAY TWELVE.com and see how we're helping schools transform learning one student at a time. Because at K-12, it's not just about projects and furniture, it's about purpose.
I want to hear from you. I know you said you all kind of did some, visit some other campuses, other schools as you were kind of going on in the early stages of this. And then you even mentioned too, like trying to pick and choose what are the best safety features, what are we going to include in our school. How did you really narrow down the selections of what you ultimately decided on putting into the new school? What did that process look like for those that might be kind of navigating this in our audience? What would you recommend as far as like, this is the process we went down and this is kind of how we narrowed down that selection process?
Yeah, you can't do it alone. I mean, that's the biggest thing, right? If they were to hand it to me and say, "Hey, do this," it wouldn't be as impactful and as well done and as prepared as it is now. We had so many eyes on this. I was one small piece of the team. Again, thankful to be on the team. We had operations, we had custodial, we had law enforcement, it was such a great group of people, finance, we had teachers, we had administrators, we had parents, community members, business partners that were all part of this committee that we were actually able to all work together. We took 2 buses, I had 2 buses down to multiple schools in our area and just spent the day there walking through, talking to the teachers and the principals and saying, "Hey, what do you like? What do you not like? What would you, if you could go back now and start over, what would you do different?" And that's where we got a lot of our ideas from. And then coming back and sitting down as a group and filling out some surveys and just having roundtable discussions again with our partners and our builders to say, this is what we're looking at, this is what we want. No, let's change this. No, let's do this. And all of us coming together to build our unique little our campus, our little campus for our students. So it was, again, that was part of the process and just looking through of what is going to be a better fit here and a better fit there. It's a unique design that I haven't seen. It's a more of a pod type design, probably more familiar with it than I am even, just being kind of newer in the building aspect of that. But it's a beautiful design where there's pods and like learning neighborhoods and the kids have different classrooms inside the pods and they can come out and have community. It's just a brilliant way to learn, to grow, especially for our younger children, especially for the elementary age, and just to build that community together and still, like I said, keeping it safe with, the way we design the walls and change the little things like that. So that, in that event what you were talking about earlier, in that catastrophe, that critical incident, the students still have a place where they can be safe. Is that perfect marriage?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. So now, looking at opening day, what's I always kind of like to look at like opening day. What is, we kind of know at this point like what success looks like there, but I also kind of look at like the 20-year horizon of this project. And I know you kind of talked a little bit about your role and like what success looks like there, but looking 20 years from now, if Rock Hill schools, any school that you look at in the district, if it's thriving, safe, and relevant in that community, what would that tell us about the hard choices that you're making now? Like you said, making some of those like cuts on certain things. What does that look like from your standpoint?
Yeah, I think, if you look 20 years from now, I think success is other schools and other districts wanting to come see what we did, wanting to model what we designed for our children, and what we put in place for our children to come and to feel safe and to learn. Yeah, anytime there's a project, there's going to be give and take and opportunities and things that you may not get the whole wish list, and we didn't, but I think prioritizing where the monies need to be spent, for the most bang for your buck, or like I've told my boss, we get the most squeeze for the juice, right? I mean, and that's what I want to make sure we're doing. There's, other things out there. I'm not a fan of just buying technology just for technology. I want to buy things that are going to be, best practice and proven for our campuses, and things that are going to be easy. I don't want something just for the sake of doing it. And now it's more complicated for our teachers, or more complicated for administrators. That was part of our goal when we're designing that, and the front entry and, the single point entry location, which is a big thing in school design, and the vestibules, I call them man traps because that's just what I've always called them, the vestibule areas and things like that, and designing that to where it is easy to flow for the public and for our school and our teachers and our administrators, to where it's easier, but the design is to a point to where it's easy to navigate. The wayfinding is well done and easy for visitors and guests, and not only so they know where to go, but so they're not in an unauthorized area, right? And make it to where I didn't know I wasn't supposed to be here. Well, make it easy for you. And designing that in a sense where we can look back, and like I said at the beginning, this is that model school, not only for us, but for other districts around the state and around the country, that they can call and say, hey, we really want to come see what you guys have done there because we've heard that it's the best practice right now.
Well, yeah, that's incredible. It sounds like being able to dip into some of the schools that you've been able to see, kind of make those decisions for your community. It sounds like, you guys will have some really amazing features to kind of have, host some of those sessions down the road. So that's great. I guess looking ahead to, I mentioned at the beginning of our discussion, you all have, I believe, 336 million. Is that correct? Is that figure correct for other maintenance, initiatives as well? What does that look like? And do you have any lessons learned from this first time going through this to how you're doing it now, looking forward? What's that process kind of looking like as you navigate what that challenge is going to be, looking like here in the future?
Sure. And so our assistant superintendent for operations is leading that project. I've been involved with some of it. It is in the earlier stages. I do know that we are working with a firm to kind of build that plan out. So that way it's just, not throwing something against the wall to see if it sticks. We want to be very deliberate and methodical about that. And they're working through that. And we've done some needs assessments and things for our buildings. Having some older buildings, that is a challenge. And I do know those are going to be prioritized. My understanding is, I believe they, in the immediate, just for this summer alone, they've already released $10 million to get that part started. I know a big portion of that is going to be some of our HVAC systems, some of our roofing areas for some of our buildings. It's not going to be new builds. It's going to be construction, or not new construction. It's going to be just maintenance, upkeep, replacement, some things that we really, really need right now for the future. Just building out that goal, those plans, and making those goals for the future. I know that's a process. I've been involved in a handful of those meetings as well on kind of where we're at and building that plan out. That is still in process, and without going, I guess, too far, because I don't have all the details, it is still a process, and we're excited to continue that journey and to see where we are and to spend that money responsibly for our community.
Well, thank you, Andrew, for kind of doing a deep dive on current initiatives, future initiatives. The way I always like to kind of tie this all back around to kind of end this off is, obviously everything you're doing it aligns with the shirt that I'm wearing. You're being radically student-centered with your approach and making sure that every decision is really for what's best for students. But I want to ask you, because I love to ask guests this, is how would you define radically student-centered in your own terms as you kind of work on these initiatives? How do you kind of always keep that in the forefront for your decision-making process?
Yeah, I mean, that's why we're here, right? I think my journey, I still love kids. I love what I do. I love my time as a SRO. I love my time as a teacher. I love my time as an administrator. I miss being in schools every day. So I get there and get to be a part of that as much as I can. So, as I mentioned before, my entire job is to be radically student-centered. Students aren't going to learn if they don't feel safe. Teachers aren't going to teach if they don't feel safe. But I also understand that I'm one person, and I tell our team this, and I tell our teachers this all the time. Like, none of us is as smart as all of us. I need their input. I need their perspective. I'm not in the classroom anymore. I need that teacher to say, hey, Mr. Jones, have you thought about this? No, I haven't. I need that perspective. And we have those meetings with teachers, and we have those meetings with students. I just had a student meeting the other day about some of this stuff. So we have to be a partnership on. And it's one of the things that I love about this, and being that radically student-centered leads me back to ensuring that we're having those conversations and not just, I'm on my own sitting over here. The safety aspect, you see it all the time, the critical incidents of the scary things. I tell our team, I refuse for us to be the next one they're talking about because we didn't do something. People say all the time, oh, we hope and pray. Well, we hope and pray, but we're going to prep and plan. and we're going to do the things that we need to do, and we're going to work hard, and we're going to do everything we can to ensure that our students and our staff are safe every day. Our goal, and I tell our team this too, we want to be the most prepared district that never has to experience a critical incident. And that starts with buildings, building designs, and what we're doing on a daily basis.
I love that. And I love the two aspects you mentioned there, hope and pray, and then prep and plan. I love how you laid that out. So, well, for our audience, super thankful to kind of get introduced to Andrew. For everybody who might know his name, he actually was a recent attendee of, was it one of the regional conferences?
Yes,
possibly
sir.
There?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The one in Greenville, the southeast in Greenville.
Yes. Yep. The southeast in Greenville. So yeah, you might have seen him in passing there if you were at that conference. For those, around the country, maybe hopefully we might see you at one of the Learningscapes national conferences as well. So, but super excited to kind of hear more about what you're doing. Also for our audience, we talked about Sunset, the Sunset project. We also kind of dipped into a little bit about Carroll. If you'd like to learn more about those projects, and more about that process too, we'll also kind of link some of those projects from the Rock Hill website as well onto this episode for them to follow. We'll also have some of Andrew's pages as well on there as well. But Andrew, really appreciate you coming onto the show, talking about how you're making a radically student-centered approach and plan to the work that you do in the district. Any other final closing words you would like to provide to our audience?
I mean, I think I covered it all. I mean, I guess that was my spiel. I mean,
yeah,
kids are first, and I love what I do, and I'm thankful that I get to do this every day. I can't believe they pay me to do this. So, it's amazing, and building the partnerships with, our builders and our community and you guys, like this is what it's about. And being a part of this, and I'm thankful to be a part of it. So thank you for having me today.
Yeah, awesome. And for our audience too, like, share, comment. We always love to kind of get these episodes out. But Andrew, thank you again for joining us on the show. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Matt. I appreciate you.
The Better Learning Podcast is produced by Matt Rogers and edited by Kelly Jones. The views and opinions shared on this podcast are those of the individual speaking and do not necessarily represent the perspectives of their affiliated companies, organizations, or associations.